You're listening to the best of the Morning X, dropping back into the interview from a few moments ago. This is the original 99X.
Talking with Tom Brokaw. Tom, when you take that news cape off on the weekend, what do you do for fun?
Well, I'm kind of an adventurous soul. I like to do kind of hardy things. I love cross-country skiing and downhill skiing at this time of the year, and snowshoeing, and I love fly fishing. I'm getting ready to have a big year of fly fishing coming up. I'm going off to Iceland and to northern Canada.
You have some pretty high-profile fly fishing buddies, if I recall.
Yeah, a lot of my pals are kind of world class in their particular sports. I've got a couple of friends who are world class mountain and rock climbers and that kind of thing.
Like who are some of your fly fishing buddies?
Well, one of them is
Redford. Don't you fly fish with Redford?
Well, actually, he doesn't fly fish so much. He made a wonderful movie about it. But we've been great skiing friends for years. We used to have a thing where we would take our kids every year during the President's holiday out to Vail and have a kind of we'd take a big house and ski down the mountain, and it was great because I didn't have to worry about anybody noticing me if I were skiing with Redford in the party. They'd all pay attention to him. But Ted Turner is one of my fly fishing friends, and we do that in Montana primarily. But a man by the name of Yvon Chouinard, who is the head of Patagonia, the founder of that great clothing company that grew out of his passion about mountain and rock climbing and inventing first the hardware for that. We've been in southern Argentina and in Russia and in Siberia fly fishing, so those are pretty remote locations.
You're speaking of remote locations. Now you're going to Cuba for the Pope's visit. Is that right? You've met, I'm guessing, or have interviewed most of the world leaders. Can you recall any faux pas you ever made in the presence of a world leader?
Well, I don't remember any particular faux pas. I do remember a great line from one of my producers one time. I was going off to interview General Jaruzelski, who was the outgoing military commander of Poland, who was the last of the communist leaders there, and he was quite a dignified man. And I was right after I'd interviewed Gorbachev, and I was the first Western journalist to do that. So Jaruzelski was giving me pretty royal treatment because I had interviewed the big guy in the Kremlin, and we walked into this receiving room, and I was with a man by the name of Ted Elbert, with whom I've worked a lot in the past. He's a kind of a Chicago wise guy, and we were standing there, and Jaruzelski was saying through the translator, I have been interviewed by Walter Cronkite, and there's a translation of that, and I've been interviewed by Barbara Walters, and there's a translation of that. And then he said, and now I am about to be interviewed by the most important American journalist of them all, you, Tom Brokaw. And before I could respond, my producer, standing about 4 feet behind me, said in a loud stage whisper, God, no wonder this guy's in so much trouble. I thought it was a fair summry of where things are.
You've interviewed the Pope? You've met the Pope?
Well, I've met the Pope, but, he's never sat for an interview before. And my guess is that he won't this time as well. We're real curious about two things. One is his physical health, and then, in a larger sense, what the impact that he'll have both on the Cuban people and on Fidel Castro. Castro is in the twilight of his years. He's 70. He was raised as a Catholic, trained by Jesuits. Will the arrival of the Holy Father in his country, and the Pope does not withhold his views, and he'll probably talk to Castro about human rights and about oppression, will that have an impact on Castro and how he then begins to conduct himself in the back third of his life? And if he does begin to lift some of the oppressive policies of his regime, it could be cover for this country to begin to find a way to lift the dialogue. This is all speculation on my part, but this could be ultimately a very important trip. Look, it's been great fun. Okay. Thanks for having me on.
Hold on, we have just
Tom, can you have 15 seconds for us?
Yeah.
We have a thing that every celebrity does. It's called the Fish Quiz.
We could have a champ here.
15 seconds to name as many fish as you can. That's all. It's easy. On your mark, get set, go.
Trout, tuna, grouper, marlin, sharks, bass, crappies, bluegills, perch, sailfish, roosterfish, stripers.
12.
That was an excellent show.
Wow, I think that's second all time.
Yes. Thank you very much, Tom Brokaw.
Okay, guys.
Tom Brokaw.
Monster. We're on top of the NBC News place. Tom Brokaw is right beneath us. and we're on top of where he's at, and we're on a rooftop, and basically it's okay because Tom and I are pretty tight. Last night we went out for a beer, me and Brokaw, and he can't really order beer because people think he's intoxicated because the way he talks. You know, when we sat down at the bar, and Tom goes, "I like to order a Miller Lite beer." And honest, the bartender goes, "Sorry, Tom, you sound like you're a little intoxicated." "I'm not intoxicated. I just want a Miller Lite beer." And he ordered a Heineken. He had a Heineken.
The best of the Morning X. 99X.
No Contest Wrestling, where O'Shea Jackson Jr. and TJ Jefferson bring their hot takes with the biggest names in the game.
Ladies and gentlemen, Braun Breaker. Welcome to the pod.
My aspirations in life, I always wanted to be a WWE superstar.
The Prodigy, Roxanne Perez. I gotta talk about the Hugger cosplay.
I mean, it was perfect, wasn't it? You know?
LA Knight.
What am I doing here? At this point, I can retire. See you, everybody.
The No Contest Wrestling Podcast, part of the Rich Eisen Podcast Network. Follow and listen on your favorite platform.